Hello everyone, welcome. This is Roland, welcome. Today I want to talk about how to come back to reality, which is very important. You see, it's in reality, in the now present, where problems are solved. You can't solve a problem in the past, and you can't solve a problem in the future. You can only solve a problem now, or realize something now, or see a solution now. You see what I mean? So it all begins now, because it's always now. But when you are lost in thinking, lost in the imagination, lost in visualizing, okay, you are doing nothing that's productive, nothing that's helpful. So how do you come back to reality? Well, first of all, you have to want to. And then the second thing is you need a little help. Because now, if you're like most people, you're used to being lost in a trance state, okay, where you spend most of your time reliving the past, fantasizing, daydreaming, worrying about the future, planning and scheming what you're going to do. See, always in that ersatz reality, that visual, which is not a reality, always in visualization and imagination, thinking about the past and about the future. You spend all your time there. Now, why is that? Well, that's what people tend to do, and the more time you spend there, the more you tend to go back there. And the reason is because in reality, you fail in reality. See, to live properly requires awareness, especially in those delicate moments with your partner, with your kids, or those delicate moments in life where we have to go right or left. See, there are certain moments in life where what you do makes all the difference. So how do you come back to reality? Well, you have to want to. And as I said, the more mistakes you have made, see, what happens is, look, here's what happens. Early in life, we become upset or emotionalized or excited about things. Now, it's natural for little kids to get excited about it. That's natural. That's why parents are there to set limits and to watch and make sure that things don't get out of hand. If the children get a little bit excited or carried away, the parents are there calm and not carried away. If anyone else is excited, the parents are calm. If someone's upset, the parents are calm. See what I mean? So that's what parents are for. But as children grow older and become teenagers and then young adults and adults, see, you gradually are to set aside those ways of becoming excited about things and become more calm, more reasonable, more rational, more stable. See, it's part of what maturing is all about. So, but if you're an adult, okay, and you're getting all excited or upset or angry or nervous or irritated or resentful, see? Well, then you are becoming emotional. And that emotion interferes with your being able to handle things properly. See? When you get excited, you make something too important. You say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing. And especially when you're angry. So here's what happens. Okay. Oh, anyway, getting back to when you were a child. So as a child, you became emotionalized. Now, parents should be there to set a good example of being calm. But instead, very often, parents themselves are like big kids, and they're emotional. Worse yet, they're fighting with each other, arguing, see, or getting upset. Dad gets angry at traffic. Mom is angry at dad. See, that sort of thing. Angry. Well, so in their anger, and they somehow emotionalize you as a child. It's upsetting to see mommy and daddy fighting or angry or upset. See? Even that in itself is upsetting. And then in their anger, they turn around on someone, take it out on someone weaker or smaller. So dad is angry at work and he comes home and maybe yells at you. Or mom is angry at dad and turns around and yells at you. See what I mean? Because as a child you were smaller. So that's an injustice. See, you go to school and there's a bully. That's injustice. Teacher has a pet. That's injustice. See, or there are pressures. There shouldn't be pressure. See, no one would want to pressure another person. See, no decent person, or no person who hasn't been pressured themselves and doesn't even know what they're doing would want to pressure anyone else. So there are pressures. And so those are unfair, those are unjust. And so what happens is the child becomes upset and angry over the injustice. But once you start to become emotionalized, well, then what happens is the emotions lend themselves to getting lost in thought, reliving what happened. See, it was a trauma. To become overly emotionalized is a little trauma. So then you remember what happened and think about what happened and relive in your mind what happened. See? Something little or something big. And so you failed in reality. Now, when the next situation comes along that's similar to the one that was a trauma, then what happens? You become upset again, because your body recalls the previous incident. So now you become upset again, and so this time somehow you don't handle it properly again. You get upset, you become angry, you say the wrong thing, you do the wrong thing, you run away, you throw things around, or you run away, or you do something, you make a mistake. Or you can see that you're not handling the situation properly, it's upsetting you, and so you retreat into thinking all over again. So it becomes a habit to escape from seeing a failure in the present, to escape from reality you don't know how to cope with. You escape into fantasy. So it could either be thinking about the past or reliving the past, or it could be fantasizing about dreams of greatness or glory. See, the more you fail in reality, the more you then hide in dreams of greatness and power and might and revenge and romance. See, you can be a romantic hero in your daydreams, whereas in reality you are failing. Okay. Now the other thing about reality is that there are a lot of pressures that you can't do anything about, especially when you're a kid. You go to school and you're pressured, and there are bullies, and there's academic pressure, and there's peer pressure, and there's performance pressure, and there's homework pressure, and there's success pressure, and there's athletic pressure. All of these pressures. See, there's nothing you can do other than just sit there and if you could bear it without becoming resentful, without becoming upset. But sooner or later it gets to you. See, sooner or later the pressures get to you and you become upset. Or they pressure you to do something, and then you do what they pressured you to do, which is also technically wrong. See, we shouldn't be succumbing to pressure. We should move independently and intuitively, and from our own center of dignity, and not out of reaction to someone's pressure. So that pressure is an injustice, but you didn't know how to cope with it as a little child, so you reacted to it, and then maybe gave in to it. You see. And there's pressure at home from parents. There's parental pressure, or big brother pressures you, or babysitter pressures you. See? And they're bigger than you are. What can you do when you're a little child? Not much. So but you see how that would all tend to foster your escaping into daydreams. Now some kids escape into their texting, some escape into reading or playing video games or fantasizing. See, well, okay, I understand that, because reality is just sometimes too much to bear. But in the long run, that's not good. If you want to live properly and not live guiltily and anxiously, and feel and not reach your full powers. See, you need to learn how to live without having to escape and hide. Okay? Well, I can help. My meditation helps, and some of my books and my writings help. Basically, as an adult now, what you need to, first of all, you need to see that you are escaping. See? The slightest pressure of any kind, or someone is in, or someone is around who is like someone who pressured you in the past, a teacher who pressured you, or a parent who pressured you, or a schoolyard bully that pressured you, or someone that was more clever than you and they teased you, or any pressure that's like something from the past, and it puts you into a little trance state. See, where you're more manageable, you're more suggestible, you're more easily led, you fall away from your own center of dignity. See, and then that lends itself to floating away with some kind of daydream. Either a daydream you give yourself, or sometimes it's what they give you. See, then they implant the ideas into your mind. When you become subject to the environment, then it begins to implant something of itself in you. See, where you ought to be subject to what? To reason, to intuition, enlightened reason, what you know in your heart. See, intuition, conscience, what you wordlessly know, when you just see what's true. See, God gives humans intuition. He gives animals instinct. He gives humans intuition. That's how you remember in the Bible it said someone like Noah or Enoch or Elijah, they walked with God, or they were a friend of God. What that meant is that they lived in reality. They were always checking with their intuition, and through their intuition they knew what God wanted, what was right. They knew it within. Wordlessly, they knew, because they weren't hiding in imagination. Now, so let's continue now. What's the problem with the imagination? It's not reality. And the negative forces, let's call them negative forces, or evil. Let's call it evil. There is such a thing as evil. In fact, there's a war going on between good and evil. And you are just a chess piece or a pawn. See, evil operates through people. It gets inside of people when they're pressured and they resent, become angry, see, or when they're tempted to do something wrong, then it gets into them. From the outside, it gets inside. And then it operates through them from the inside. So a lot of times when you're facing someone that's doing something wrong, or they're pressuring you, or they're cruel, or they're teasing you, or something or other, it's not even them that's doing it. It's the evil, it's the sin that made a home in them. See, they may be unconscious to what they're doing, or they may know what they're doing, but they can't stop themselves. See, so don't hate them. That's the number one line of defense. Don't hate the person. If there's something wrong is coming through them, then stand back, observe it, keep it on the outside. Just observe it. Don't resent it. Don't struggle with it. Don't argue with it. Just see it. Don't resent it. And don't resent the person. Okay? Don't resent the person. But now you see it gets into it, how it gets into people. See? Some of you may have had an experience, maybe at home with a parent. Maybe your mom was most times she was fun to be around. But then when she had moods or something went wrong, she could become like a monster, a demon. She was like another person, yelling and screaming and ranting and raving and saying terrible things. Okay? What was in her? Was that her? Or was it the spirit of her mother, or the spirit of trauma, the spirit of something got inside of her? See? Undoubtedly when she was a little girl and someone was pressuring her. See? See how that is? All right, so now you see that. So now you understand why you should be in the podium of your own mind, in control, in reality, subject to enlightened reason, subject to conscience, moving intuitively, your own person, see, facing reality, which can sometimes be puzzling, okay? Sometimes even concerning. See, not to worry, not to get upset, not to become emotional, but just observe something on the outside that's a puzzlement, something to wonder about. See, and sometimes you have something you have to say or something you have to do. Okay, well then you wait until it comes to you. See, from within, from your reason, from enlightened, your intuition. See, the inner light from God. It just bubbles, something bubbles out, and it turns out it's the right thing to do. Or you do something, and it's the right thing. Sometimes nothing has to be done. You just watch. The outside, what's on the outside, see, it's pressuring you or something, you just watch it. Okay? And then it passes, and you're safe. See? But if you roll up your sleeves as an ego, as egos tend to do, and then jump in with animal emotion, anger or excitement or willfulness or resentment, and try to deal with it, then you end up losing. Because you're dealing with a spiritual force. See? So what you need to do is to be very close to your intuition. See, which can become a lamp unto your feet. But when you're down, lost in the imagination, you have fallen from it. You're not next to your intuition. You're not next to inner light. See? Instead, you're in a false light of the imagination. And it's in the imagination that the outside forces, see, approach and make suggestions and implant ideas, and you think they're your ideas. See? But they're not. So you want to be in reality. That's where you want to be. Okay? Because in reality, then you can look at things and observe and ask questions and make a reasonable choice based on what seems right or what seems fair in the moment. See? And proceed on that basis, which is much better than reacting to the outside, becoming upset, falling into thinking, falling into imagination, falling into worry, falling into planning and scheming, see, and then trying to do something which is always wrong, with the wrong motivation, the wrong, see, anger energy, and the wrong thing with the wrong timing, doesn't work out. So you don't want to be losing yourself in imagination and daydreams, because there are no answers there. Okay? True answers come from your intuition. Okay? So that is basically what I wanted to say today, and I think I've made my point. And I think this video could be good for you. Okay? I kept it very simple. So it could be good, and if you can try the meditation, I think it would be very helpful. See, if you're ready for, if you're ready for, in other words, if you're willing to, if you want to know the truth, and you can see that you've been messing up, and you don't know exactly how or why you've been messing up, and you don't know what the right thing to do is, but you want to know what the right thing to do is, see? And you don't want to be resenting people and angry all the time, and you don't want to be hiding in your thoughts. You see that you are. Well, okay, then with that kind of an attitude, then there's a good chance the meditation will work for you. Okay, it will help. It's a little tool to help you to find reality and to, on a daily basis, like 3 times a day, meditate for 5 minutes, and it'll help you to come back to that nice, natural, aware state which you had when you were a little child, before you became upset. See, before you were pressured and before you became upset and emotionalized. That's where you were. You were in reality. Okay, a beautiful, beautiful reality. Okay, where the birds are singing, and that's where you're closer to God, in reality. My name is Roland.